Hello, and thanks for being with us here on the New Life Show, a series of talks with Dr. Michael Laitman. Hello, Dr. Laitman. Hello, everyone. Hello, Yale Shadarel. Hello. Today, we'd like to talk to Dr. Laitman about providence. There are people that believe that there is providence, there are people that don't, and we'll try to find out what's true and what's not. Yael, please. So, I'd like to start out with a song called "The Creator Has Mercy on Children." God has mercy on kindergarten children, a bit less on school children, and has no mercy on adults at all. Sometimes they'll have to crawl on all fours in order to reach their destination. So we see that this song, it raises a question. Are we being watched over when it happens that in states of danger, or we came out of a very dangerous curve and there was this car coming right at us, and at the last second it didn't hit us? Also, I, as a secular person, have a feeling that there's someone who's watching over me or us, and many times things are so unpleasant and bad that we feel that either we were left alone, or to begin with, there was no one watching over us. And in the modern world, people are less inclined to think that there is some kind of providence, and I'd like to start with the question: is someone watching over us from above? Am I talking now to a psychologist, or whom? We're talking to our viewers, different kinds of people from all walks of life, and all of them from time to time feel that there is some kind of providence, and sometimes they feel that there isn't. On the simplest level, yeah. They ask, is there someone watching over us from above? Is there? If I'll speak on my behalf, not from the perspective of other people, so I'll tell you that not that we're being watched over, but we're like a fetus in his mother's womb, in a system that connects us in all possible ways, and we have no free choice. No movement, no motion, neither physical, nor mental, nor intellectual, nor of the desire, or above the desire, or instinctive, or whatever. None. But we're shackled by iron chains inside the system, where we have nothing that we can compare to some kind of freedom in any way, shape, or form. That's it. This force that is shackling us in thousands of different details is hidden, and therefore it seems to us that we're free, and we don't know what are we going to do, and what's going to happen, and how am I doing what I'm doing, and how the general system that I'm in will respond to it. It's all concealed. All in all, it's merely concealment. And what do I need this concealment for? Why did nature do it this way? In order for me to discover this system that I'm in. For me to discover the system, learn what and how it is, feel it, understand it, so much that I and it, in my consciousness, awareness, in my desire and what I feel, for us to be as one, so I will be a fully integral part of this system in all ways, shapes, and forms. That's it. That's where man is, and what he has to do, and what his role is. And this is our goal, our purpose here in this world. You talked about an embryo inside the womb. I, as a mother, I watch over my children. So I try to lead them to the best possible places. I try for things to be as good as possible for them, to protect them in any possible way, and so on. That's my goal. Now, what does it mean when someone controls me, governs me, or when I'm an embryo inside a womb? Can you imagine the life of an embryo inside the womb? As much as I can. Sure, from what we know. All of the forces from the mother's body that are influencing it are controlling it 100% and arranging the embryo so that it will be developed by the upper system of the mother in a way that protects him in every way. In every way. This system has a goal to develop the embryo and make sure that he's born, right? For everything to end with a good and healthy birth. Now, there are forces, pro and con, in this system because everything works between two forces, as if positive and negative, as if. And then there are systems of absorption and emission of different substances and so on. And the body of the embryo is controlled by the body of the mother. And therefore, we think that everything works in a good and nice way. It doesn't. In the wisdom of Kabbalah, we learn how opposite these forces are, how rigid they are, how strong they are, how they work through contradiction, a force that causes expansion and one that causes contraction, like breathing or the heartbeats and different other things. These are the things that we see, but there are also actions that we don't see, but the development always comes through two opposite forces, where there's plus and minus, and there is some kind of matter between them, and this is how they influence it. And therefore, when you think that everything's so nice and great, it isn't. The embryo experiences it in a very non-simple way, but the embryo instinctively resists and agrees and does different actions, and there's a big war going on about how to receive the right, correct forces and to emit anything that by nature the embryo feels that is foreign to him, meaning there is a vast work of scrutiny and absorption and emission here. And this work goes on for 9 months. It's not simple. It's not that the embryo grows passively and the mother does everything, but we learn from the wisdom of Kabbalah and also from what we know about the forces that are working day in and day out, and how the forces, they merge more and more until they depict the outer form and the inner forms. So later on, when the embryo is already born, he has such a fulfillment that he doesn't need anything afterwards. He only needs energy from the outside and fulfillment for his cells, for the memory and different things, but actually he has everything. He acquires these things through great efforts, in favor of his mother and against his mother. Truly so. That he has the forces of the screen there, and the rejection, and the restriction, and also the work of the absorption, and the scrutiny, and the connection. And therefore, it's a war. It's really an inner war. Otherwise, he won't grow. And afterwards, after he's born, all the inner struggles that he has with the world until he perceives it. By the way, he feels everything. After a few days, it's called the 3 days of conception and the 40 days of the creation of the embryo. And after the 40 days of the creation of the embryo, that's it. He's already a fetus. He starts absorbing information. He becomes a human being. It's no longer a few connected cells, but really he's really a human being. And afterwards, when he's born, then one way or another he has a special kind of communication with his mother, but then he comes out and feels the world in a more outer, external manner, and that is a new degree of existence. But even when he's inside the mother and through the mother, and even not through the mother, he absorbs the external environment. So let's take this depiction you gave us. What happens with that person? You depicted an embryo inside his mother's womb when we asked about whether someone's watching over us. So can you connect this with the providence over a person in his day-to-day life? Day-to-day life, then, just like we're under those forces that develop us inside the mother, when we're born, it's the same forces, only bigger. As if bigger, because it's really the same forces. They work on us and develop us, and there's nothing that happens suddenly, that isn't calculated very precisely by nature and happens randomly. Nothing happens randomly. Not a child that broke a plate, or a grown-up that tripped on the sidewalk, or anything or anyone. But everything happens according to the plan of creation that is set from beginning to end. The more we study nature, we see that it's a closed, integral, very serious system where there are absolute laws operating, and there is nothing that can happen because someone did something randomly, and so on and so forth. What does happen is that we feel what goes on with us and around us. We feel it according to our development, according to the extent to which we identify with the operating system, or don't we? An ordinary person doesn't know anything about the system of governance and providence, but he simply lives his life, and then, instinctively, without understanding anything, goes through life. He has nothing. He does everything precisely according to how the system's operating him. He has no free choice, no free actions, free thoughts, free desire. And if so, we can't relate to that person as someone who deserves a reward or punishment, but he's like a tree. Some seed fell in the ground, so it grows and does something according to its nature and the external conditions. And the same with man, who's the tree of the field. And where is the system directing him? The system is directing him towards states where he will start acknowledging the system, and that he'll get into this kind of connection, communication with the entire system. This system is called nature, or God, which are one and the same, or the upper force. Yeah. Usually, we talk about general providence and particular providence. When you talked about the system of governance and providence, what did you mean? I meant that all of us are under constant governance and providence. That's very precise. General or particular? Both. It's all an integral system. But when we learn about this system and we want to connect with it, then we divide its actions into general and particular, but actually the entire system exists. It's like a big system that unravels towards a state where all of its parts, the still, vegetative, animate, and the speaking, namely human beings, all of its parts will be correctly connected between them in a conscious manner on their part, and through the right connection between them, complete, perfect connection. In that connection, they will discover the force of that system, the brain of that system that operates in the entire system to begin with, but it was hidden. And they discover it, and then they identify with this force, and that's called that they're adhered to it. And this is the purpose of the development of the system and all of its parts. Why should they be adhered with it? This means that they take upon themselves the role of the operator, the role of operating the system, all the actions, all the corrections, everything. They take it into their hands instead of nature or God, doesn't matter how you call it. So at a certain point the roles switch? No, it remains the same, only that that upper force or nature, the creator, or it doesn't matter how you call it, that force operates on the created beings, the still vegetative, animate, and speaking, operating them against their will where they don't know and they're unconscious of it all, or that they themselves, they start acknowledging that they're operated from above, they accept this governance and start operating themselves as a result of the attainment of the upper, and by this they become like the upper, and this means that they achieve adhesion with him. So if we're talking about general providence, I want to talk about the entire system, not about a particular individual. Then what is the providence over them in order to lead each and every individual and everyone together to the recognition of the operating and developing force of this system? So everything that happens in life, it happens in order to advance us towards this recognition. In other words, the revelation of the Creator. And how does that happen? How does nature or that upper force, how does it do it? How does it direct us? It directs us by leading a person. The still vegetative and animate, for the time being, we're not taking them into account because they're all included in the person and they ascend and descend with him in the attainment of the system being included in a person. But the upper force, it leads people according to the order of their development to states, to places, to books, to teachers, where these unique people that have already ripened towards these things, they can get their guidance there and continue their development on a different degree and recognition of the upper system and the upper force. So they're getting the right guidance in order for them to understand how to correctly connect with the system. Yes, and you said that the still vegetative and animate are dependent on them. Yes, they're included in the human level. There's no providence over them. There is providence, but they have no free choice. Regarding free choice, they depend on man. Man does the work for everyone, everything. And how will his work influence them to eventually? Because they're all in one system. Only these are lower degrees, more simple degrees than man, and therefore, to begin with, they're included in man. I see. This is general providence and particular providence. I'd like to start with a personal story. You said that there's both a general and also particular providence because the system is integral. About 2 years ago, me, my wife, both of my children were walking in the city Saturday afternoon, no cars, everything's quiet, we're headed home, we're reaching a crosswalk, no one around, I cross, and suddenly I see that my son is lagging behind and there is one car coming from afar. Really, the car can see, it's broad daylight, and the car is flying and hits my son. My son's thrown on the road, and as if it came out of nowhere, because there's no car, there's nothing. The driver, he was talking to someone, I don't know what happened. Thank God, my son came out fine. But it's unclear. How did it happen? How did he come out relatively fine? People die in these kinds of accidents. Now, Albert Einstein says, in my opinion, the idea of a personal God is childish. So I'm asking, is there providence from above in such particular situations, or isn't there? There's no providence or anything. Particular providence is just in order to lead a person to integrate in the system in a conscious way. All the rest of the things, they happen according to the needs of the system to advance towards the revelation of the upper force that's operating in it. I didn't understand the answer. What is private providence? The accident that happened to us out of the blue. No, that's not private providence. It all happens according to the needs of the system, that this is how it was supposed to happen with one of its components, and that he came out fine. All the same. I don't understand what you mean by private providence. For me, private providence, it means that one of the parts of the system is more conspicuous than the rest of the system in a special, outstanding way, according to that part's inner qualities. And it develops more than the rest of the parts of that system. And this development leads this part to a different degree than, let's call it, all of his contemporaries, the rest of the parts of the system, because he has to ascend and carry out a special role. So this is what you previously said, that a person has to develop his consciousness in order to acknowledge the system, identify it, and take the reins into his hands? Yes. Okay, so maybe I'm not using the right words. I want to say that what happened with your son, and thank God everything's fine, there's no thank God or no thank God about it, but there's a system that operates and had to realize these things the way it did. Why? Because maybe later on, when you'll develop and you'll still have this question, I don't think that you'll still have this question. It's not that you'll forget, but this is how the system had to behave in order to allow you and your son and your family and also the driver to understand and feel something. You had to reach some kind of a connection between you, maybe a momentary one, and to advance this way. But everything that happens, it happens only in order to advance you towards the recognition of the operating force that operates the system. Also, these things like happen with Owen's son. There is nothing that happens outside of this plan and this goal. So the example that I gave, what does it teach us about providence? I don't know. What do you think? This is exactly what we'd like to learn from you. You called today's topic providence. What do you think about providence? I don't think anything about it. It exists only towards specific people that are already developing in a special, individual way. They're developing towards the upper force, that they're the exception, and they start developing their feeling and understanding and perception and their work inside the system in an individual way where they take upon themselves the role of the upper force. And then they enter the system in a special way. And they have private providence. But it's because they rise above the general providence. They're not a part of the general providence. They want to function according to the particular providence. They have a special role. In short, special people. Like, suppose in the government, you have, suppose, 5 people who decide and do, as if, because in the government, they're all robots. But suppose, this is how it is with these special people. It's called the people of God, Anshe Hashem. So everything that happens in reality is operated by that upper system. That's called general providence. And private providence is when a person starts developing his consciousness and recognition and takes the reins into his hands. Then it means that there is private providence over him. Yes, he takes on himself additional actions from the upper force that he can perform in addition to what others do. And it has to do with our personal development and not other things that happen in life. Yes. So that's a person's free choice to take the reins into his hands? Yes. Our time's up. We have 1,000 questions. We'll get back to you. Thank you very much, Dr. Laitman. Thank you, Yael. Thanks for being with us. Till next time.